Welcome, my 121 family. Okay, we are going to kick off this week. I've decided we're going to hit income. Okay, and we ended the boot camp series uh, pretty much wrapping it up with this model that I introduced to you. And I told you at the time, I believe, that everything we talked about here after essentially could be shown as an effect on that model, the block model. Okay, and I don't have a name for it yet, but um, so it looks something like this, right? So you had income and you compared that to expenses, and hopefully you're living within your means, right? This is income. And your expenses were less than your income, living below your mean. Okay. This comparison, income minus expenses, was cash flow. You saw that in your worksheet. We'll just draw it down here. Minus income minus expenses equals cash flow. Positive cash flow meant that you had a surplus because your income was greater than your expenses. A negative cash flow meant that you were trying to subtract a larger expense number from a smaller income. So you were spending beyond your means, right? You were spending more than you make, which causes this to be a negative cash flow, which we call the deficit. So that's all refresher, all review. Okay. The other part of our model had two more blocks that we called, one of them was assets. And then we had one called liabilities, which is another fancy word for debt that you owe. Okay, this is what you own, this is what you owe. And we learned that your assets minus your liabilities equals something we call the net worth, which I referred to as the score of the game, right? If you look at your life's personal finances as a game and you're trying to play the game, net worth is the score. Okay. And you want a positive net worth, meaning you have a larger asset number, subtracting a smaller debt number, smaller liability number, which will give you a positive net worth. Okay. But if you have a negative net worth, like you will probably as a college student, that means you're subtracting a larger liability or debt amount from a small number of assets. Okay. So you could probably will start out as a negative net worth, but the idea is to reverse that over time. All right. So this was the model. That's a review. But this week we're going to follow on. We did what 2 weeks ago, we talked about college, right? And what were the advantages of college versus the cost of college? And we talked about how really the purpose of college is to improve your human capital, to improve your productivity, to make you more attractive to employers so they're willing to pay you more and you're less likely to lose your job. Going to college and improving your human capital is all about maximizing your income. But along the way, you're also potentially, if you don't take advantage of all the free money, the grants and scholarships and aid that's available to you, and even if you do, you still may have to borrow some, so you may create some liabilities called student loan debt. And when those debts come due after the grace period, following when you graduate, you got 6-month grace period, they're going to start sending you bills, which is an expense that you have to start paying. Okay. That was the connection 2 weeks ago about college. Okay. And then we just did a slower week when we talked about where you were introduced to various forms of identity theft, as well as the government regulatory agencies that are out there that kind of monitor this whole financial market of ours and make sure that we don't necessarily get taken advantage of as investors or consumers. All right, but now I want to jump back into this income box because we're going to talk about income explicitly this week. Okay, and I want you to understand that when we talk about income, the goal here, right, the objective, if this is the score, net worth, the objective for the most part should be to always be improving your income. Now, I'm going to admit up front, sometimes where you work, what you're doing, who you work with, there are other rewards from a job other than pay. I get that. Okay. And so I'm going to acknowledge that up front, that not every job you take should be simply because of money. But in whatever job you have a passion for, in whatever job that you're in, In whatever job you find yourself in at the moment, you should always be trying to improve your productivity, improve your human capital, and try to earn more money in that job. The goal is always to maximize your income. Okay? Now, if you're doing that, if you're trying to grow this income box and you're controlling your spending, you're controlling your expenses, again, relating all of this income to net worth, the goal is to what? Maximize, right? This surplus here. If you grow this box, this distance right here will become greater. Your surplus gets larger. You can then take that surplus and do one of two things with it. You take this surplus money that's growing because you're growing your income, and you either add to your you buy more assets, which causes this box to grow, or you pay off, you take some of this money and you pay off your debts. You add it to here, right? Pay this off, which causes this box to get smaller. You can do both. You could do one or the other or both. If you have a surplus, you use this money to buy assets or decrease liabilities. Either way, if this box is getting bigger and this box is getting smaller, this distance right here, net worth, will continue to grow, which is the score. That's what makes you more wealthy. Net worth is what makes you wealthy, not income. But as you can see what I just did here, income is critical, right? It's the engine, right? You need income to make net worth grow. So income and wealth are not the same thing, but you need income to be able to buy assets or decrease liabilities in order to grow your net worth. So this week, just to introduce it to you with this video, we're going to spend time right in here talking about details here. What is gross pay? Okay, how do you calculate gross pay? What is a salary? What is commission? What is overtime? Okay, when they take money out of your paycheck, what is a deduction? Okay, and actually, what you end up with here, when we talk about income here, we're really not talking about gross income. What we're really talking about, if I were to be more specific, this is net income. And so this week, I'm gonna spend a lot of time in video teaching you about how to calculate gross income, whether you earn salary, commission, hourly, or overtime. And then how do you calculate the amount that your employer takes out in deductions? Because what we're ultimately trying to figure out here is how to calculate what you're going to bring home, what you have available to spend and save, which is called net income or take-home pay or your paycheck amount. And this strategy should always be in whatever job you have a passion or a love for. Whatever job you're doing, you should always be trying to maximize your net income to increase the surplus that you can then use to buy assets and or pay off debt to improve the score of the game and make you more wealthy with a greater net worth. That's where we're going this week. Lots of videos, lots of numbers, but please, please, please do not shy away. Don't skip. Pay attention to what we're talking about here. If you don't understand, find someone you trust in your home, me, someone that can show you and make sense of this to you if you're struggling, so that you don't just skip over it. Skipping over it is the worst thing you could do, okay? Because then you're going to get out in the real world and not understand this portion of income and how it's calculated. Don't hurt your future by skipping over a couple of short videos right now, okay? Watch them, rewatch them, make sure you understand. Don't be shy, ask questions, ask me for help. I'm on your side. I'm your ally. I want you to get this stuff. All right, so that's where we're headed this week. I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. You're going to learn something new. If you do your part, I'm going to do my part to make sure you get it. Hang tight. Here we go.